Before we begin, thank you very much to Boomoo M for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for supporting the channel and to help keep the daily content coming. I very, very much appreciate it. Gonna be very quick with the shout out because it is time. It is once again the first of the month, which means time for another monthly Q&A. Everything you guys asked me for the month of February, we are going to be going over now. So as usual, if you have something that you would like to ask me, keep it to the rules that you see on screen right now. One question per person. If I think you're multi-posting, I'll delete everything. Because we're trying to keep it as fair as possible so everyone has a chance to ask something. Keep it to short, punchy questions and answers. That way, like, please don't ask me to come up with entire rosters or full stories on the spot. We keep it TOS friendly. Do not ask about anything we've gone over a million times. Gundam Megatron, or Gun Megatron, Gundam. Is getting blended in my head now. Any topics that we've talked about endlessly that I never have an answer for, try to avoid those if you know what they are. The one I keep forgetting to put in here is you don't need my validation. I've had a lot of questions in the past asking, like, what do you think of this piece of fan art that I want to do? Like, what do you think of this fanfic I want to write? Like, do it. It's my answer to the universal, like, do it. You want to do something creative? Do it. You know, you don't need me to give you a yes. All right, so I've noticed my videos have been longer lately. And that's not what I want. I want quicker, punchier videos. So we will endeavor to keep this as punchy as possible for the hours that it will go on for. Which reminds me, need to have cold water at the ready. This is going to... It's always fun for my throat on these. All right. Let us begin. Why do we never get a sequel episode of Triple Takeover called Quadruple Quest? How many quad changers do you know in Transformers? I can think of like one off the top of my head, and it's from Animated, not G1. I'm sure there's a few others out there. I'm just not thinking of them right now. What year in Transformers history would you say has the most controversy? That's an interesting one. Like, it really depends on what you define as controversial. Like in 1996, the entire franchise becoming a Beast related was incredibly controversial at the time. Killing Optimus Prime and replacing the entire cast in 86 was very controversial for the time. Revenge of the Fallen, and you know what was controversial about that movie. It's hard to say because I don't have a time machine to know what it was like in 1986 or 1996 for that matter. 1996, I'm still a kid. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how like widespread a controversy like Beast Wars was. Like comparatively, if we want to like, if I can adjust controversy for inflation over the years, because we're far more vocal than we used to be. Beast Wars probably was. 1996 probably was. Like, such a dramatic shift in the franchise probably did that a lot. Of course, you might be able to say the same thing in 2000 for, and 1999 for Beast Machines. But yeah, it's really hard to say without, like, being old enough to be there and be in the know in the fandom at all times. No, not that old. Would you consider bringing in guests such as other YouTubers occasionally for your debate videos? I personally would love to see you and Thu arguing the pros and cons of light piping. I would love to collab with some of the other Transformer video creators out there. The problem is, and like I will fully admit this is my fault, I'm not very social. I don't make it out to TF cons very often to meet with them. I'm so busy in my daily life that I have my circle that I keep in touch with, but I don't go beyond that. So like the likes of like Thu and what was the other name, Jobby, like I've met them. I met Jobby in person at TFCon last year. Cool guy. But yeah, in like for me myself, I'm just unfortunately not social enough to keep up and stay in touch. I feel bad like going to other, don't do that. You didn't want to do that. I feel bad going to other content creators that I've not really spoken to before and go, hey, I want your time so I can make a video to monetize for myself. That seems a little awkward. But no, like, if the opportunity came up, absolutely, I would love to do things like that. And I've done it a little bit. I brought Redclaw on to talk dinosaur transformers. I've brought Grimlockimus on to talk repaints. Just, I need the right opportunity to do that again. Given the original Shatterglass Jazz looked pretty much like another G1 Jazz, what would you have done with his design to truly be proper Shatterglass Jazz? See, that's probably where I would do, like, I would probably take the inversion that they did with the other styles. Like, a big trick to shatter glass was like taking the color scheme of your like rival Decepticon and applying it to yourself. Like all the combiners do that. So I might have made them in like Soundwave or Shockwave colors. That comes to mind. Or probably what I would have done, I probably would have cast him mostly in red, because that would be a throwback to the Binaltech repaint Zoom Zoom. You know, basically the red jazz that we had in alternators. So it would be one of those. I'd either steal Soundwave's color scheme or I'd base it on Zoom Zoom. Let's see. Heads up is not Josiah, like you said last time. Okay. I apologize. I've never even seen that name before. I've never heard it out loud. So unfortunately, I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize for that. My question is an Earthspark one. Do you think season 2 would have been worked better if had Shockwave and Starscream swapped roles, with Shockwave being the main villain and Starscream being the one wanting to go back to Cybertron? So potentially yes. Yes. I believe Shockwave is a major villain, especially when you talk about Earthspark. Starscream in season 1 was set up to tell a very different story than what season 2 stuck him with. And if it had been Shockwave instead, that would have made more sense. Depending on why Starscream wanted to go back to Cybertron, that would be a different story. In his case, it would probably be to just get as far away from Megatron as possible and just kind of leave that past behind him. I don't necessarily think it would be for, like, the reasons Shockwave wanted to leave. Like, if you like started developing Starscream's character out a little bit more, made him more sympathetic, developed a friendship with Hashtag, you could have told a much better story with Starscream. But overall, yeah, I think it would have, the very least, I would have preferred Shockwave been the main villain of season 2. No, we got to go back to status quo because season 1 didn't do well. See, who would you think would be a good choice for a main villain in a live action movie? Mine would be Tarn. Tarn and the DJD would be super cool to see as live action villains. I'm trying to think of, like, who is good that we haven't done? Like who, like, this is like an argument I've had with Transformers in the past of, like, there's not a lot of characters who are like good mid-tier villains. And what I mean by mid-tier is Megatron is your baseline main villain. Unicron is your top main villain. There's very little in between the two. You know, like maybe Tarn, Sunstorm on a good day. The one I would love to see in movie is Nova Prime. I would love to see like a properly evil Prime, like dating back to like the origin story of the live action Transformers. You know, like that first, like we saw the Fallen, who was a corrupted Prime, but you could have had one that survived and later on found his own way of being corrupted. I want a Prime versus Prime, essentially. And I realize what I just said there. It's the only time you'll ever hear me utter those words together. Okay, if you had the opportunity, what kind of larger Glyos piece could you use as part of the packaging? What? What kind of larger Glyos piece could you use as part of the packaging? EX, the canisters from Bionicle figures where they have compatibility with the main figures. So you're talking Bionicle? I don't know Bionicle, if I'm being honest. Anytime I've attempted it, I have not liked Bionicle. So I'm sorry, I have no frame of reference there. Like, honestly, I don't really think they need to interact with, like, and I don't think they need packaging they interact with. Like, at best, you would probably see, like, at best, the packaging would probably just act as some kind of display stand. Like, the way Glyos works, I don't think you could really make much use out of those, out of any kind of packaging you could put them in, because ultimately would just, I don't know, like, the way the Glyos system works is different than the way Bionicle works, and you're dealing with a much smaller scale. So, I don't know. I think at best you are looking at, I don't know, you're looking at best maybe a maybe like at best you're looking at maybe a display stand or like maybe a holding cell. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot of room to work with, honestly. Um, which group of human kids do you prefer? Kobe, Lori, and Bud, or Jack, Miko, and Raph? It's interesting because I find Raph and Bud equally useless. Um, it's weird. It's weird. So okay, so individually, I like Jack and Miko better. But as a unit, I like Kobe and Lori better. Like, I like their dynamic together. So overall, like that, just so you know, like, okay, do I prefer Bud or Raph? In that case, I think I prefer Raph. Bud is a little bit on my nerves in that series, and Raph is marginally more useful. So I guess I go with the Prime kids on that one. Did you know there's going to be an Owl House graphic novel? Yes. Follow me on Blue Sky, everybody. The link is in the description. I talk a lot there, just like I used to on Twitter. I share a lot of photos, a lot of silly observations from time to time, and I exploded when I found out that the graphic novel for Owl House was going to come out. And I'm so angry that books are announced so far ahead of time. I have a long way and a lot to get through before I get to read it. Are you going to get Fire Red and Leaf Green for the Switch 2? And are you hoping they bring Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald to the Switch and Switch 2? So absolutely, yeah, like I would be completely cool with like all the other versions coming out, especially the special versions like Emerald. Fire Red and Leaf Green, I have not decided just yet. I like the novelty of like playing those on a much bigger handheld screen. I also like the novelty of just sitting back in my chair and just playing it with a controller. Ironically, I use an Xbox controller for my computer, meaning I get to play Pokemon with an Xbox controller. I don't know if I'm going to get them yet or not. I don't know if I'm going to get her yet. Like, to sell them individually is a little bit sus when it feels like they'd be better fits on Nintendo Switch Online. But given the fact they are going to be redoing them in order to have home compatibility, now that kind of makes sense. I still think $20 is a little steep for such old games, but it is what it is. You know what it is? Those games have like a lot of like extra things that were only available through the e-reader. If they restore that, if these versions have like literally everything that the e-reader provided, including those opportunities to catch Pokemon that were normally event or special item exclusive, then I would probably pick one up if it's a complete experience. Just how big is your convoy? Well, it's not something we discuss in polite conversation, Rial. I apologize, but there's just so much of me I'm willing to share. Let's say Hasbro does a Transformers collaboration with Nintendo. Do you think it could be possible to make Samus a Ran figure that actually turns into her morph ball mode without her being a shell former? Given all of the ball Transformers we have seen over the years, I think you could, like we have that soccer ball figure, Breakaway, that's coming out. That one you absolutely could. Like, that absolutely looks like Samus as a morph ball. It's the robot mode that looks nothing like Samus that's the problem. I think you'd have a much easier time, and I've talked about this in like my fantasy collabs, the ones I won if I got to decide everything, is Samus as her gunship, specifically her classic one from Super Metroid and the older games, the one that looks more like her design. That one I think would be far more feasible than, you know, just like turning her into a morph ball, which would make the most sense. But I don't know if you can manage to do it without being a shell former. And more importantly, I don't think you could manage to do it and still make it look like Samus. With this year being Beast Wars 30th anniversary, do you think we'll finally see modern Transmetals figures? So unfortunately, we have leaks for the entire year worth of product, and as far as we know, there's no Transmetals on the board. There's two problems with doing modern Transmetals. We've talked about this in a video in the past, but I'll be very quick about it here. One is that Hasbro never knows what to do to replace the chrome, because that's such a signature feature of the Transmetals. They feel like swapping it out for metallic plastic or paint would probably lessen the appeal and the nostalgia factor that's supposed to hit with those toys. I personally don't care. Make it metallic plastic. I just want modern Transmetal toys that had good articulation and are more show accurate. I think the other reason, though, is the third mode that a lot of those toys have. You see the extra cost that goes into figures when they have things like combiner engineering, like we see with Swindle and Brawl right now, having that extra ratchet joint in the middle in order to be an ankle for Bruticus. That upped them to Voyager scale prices. That's a little brutal, but it's because of the extra engineering involved with the toy and the extra parts for assembly. So when you think of Transmetals, like honestly, like Cheetor would probably be easy to do. That's not a big deal. But when you think of Rat Trap, when he's got to have all these wheels, when he's got to have 4 sets of wheels fold down in order to get into like an actual car mode, that gets a little bit more tricky, you know? So I think it's the extra assembly and the extra complexity that comes from those extra modes that keeps Transmetals from being released. Because I think all of them would have to be deluxe pluses sold at the Voyager price point. And ain't no one gonna pay $43 for a Transmetal Cheetor. I hate to say it. So I think it's twofold. They have to do it eventually because they're running out of other things to do. But it's very, very tricky. If the G1 Insecticons had a not really an insect member, like the Dinobots had Swoop and the Predacons had Headstrong and Tantrum, what beast mode do you think would most likely be? So, good on you for this. Like, good on you for this, because you're correct. Like, a Pteranodon is technically not a dinosaur. And yeah, Headstrong and Tantrum were herbivores. They're not predators, correct. I like the scientific accuracy here. As far as Insecticons having a not really insect member, the easiest answer would probably be a spider or a scorpion. You know, something that is technically not an insect, but still would be some type of bug that would get lumped into the group. So that'd be the easiest answer for me. And honestly, like, yeah, I would absolutely go for like a G1 style spider transformer, or, you know, a scorpion prior to Scorponok. I think that'd be fun. Would you want there to be a Bombardier Beetle Insecticon? We are Insecticon heavy already. One of these was 15 hours ago, right under the deadline, and one was from 3 weeks ago. How did you both come up with Insecticon questions back to back, the way this YouTube sorted this? Honestly, I don't know what a Bombardier Beetle is offhand. Let's see, can I get away with this? Okay, interesting. Okay, so it's like, it's basically just like a big butt beetle. It's basically just like a big butt beetle that sprays acid. I mean, I'm perfectly okay with adding anything to the Insecticon ranks, honestly. How do you feel about, like, how do you like Galvatron done as a character? A rebuilt Megatron, a different character from Megatron, or Megatron from the future? I like it when they interact, so I prefer the second or third options. I really would like, I've said this before. I feel like I've said everything before. It's been a long time we've been doing daily stuff. I would love to have fiction where Megatron and Galvatron are different characters, so yes, that they can interact. We very rarely had that. We had that in the We had that in the Netflix series, but I don't think that Galvatron was particularly Galvatron-y enough for me. We might get it in Cyber World, where Galvatron is a vastly different character. But overall, yes, I like it when Galvatron is a secondary character. When, because I feel like you run out of story ideas when it's just Megatron, but better. So yeah, I prefer my Galvatrons separate. Ooh, okay. So for triple changers, the most common alt mode seems to be some sort of an aircraft in either a land or sea vehicle, but there doesn't seem to be any land-sea combinations. Yes, I technically exist as 6-shot, RID, Megatron, Galvatron, but not as purely 3 modes, only triple changer. So what sort of vehicles do you think would work best for be easiest is for amphibious triple changers with land and sea based alt modes? So you could probably get away with some kind of like, so here's the issue you run into is wildly absurd scale. I can't turn like a cargo freighter or an aircraft carrier into a truck. Form-wise, you could make that work. Logic-wise, not a chance. I feel like your better bet for like aquatic vehicle into something else would most likely start with a hovercraft, which I know is aquatic and on land, but they're largely the majority I've seen have been aquatic vehicles. I'm trying to think of something that would work with like a speedboat. Like a speedboat into like a normal size vehicle would work, but then it comes a matter of like, well, what vehicle do you turn a speedboat into on land? You could do something silly, make it like a funny car. They have similar shape profile, but that's, I don't know, like we've never had a funny car transformer because I don't know if anyone is even aware of what funny cars are anymore. I don't keep up with it. Don't know if they're still a thing. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to come up with. It's a very difficult thing to come up with. I feel like no matter what, the land vehicle is going to have to be unorthodox. It's like, because you can make it just a speedboat. You could make it, a like I feel like a sea spray style boat does have potential for like turning into some kind of land vehicle. But I don't know. Like that's actually a really hard question. It's a really hard question because it's just so difficult to like come up with two vehicles that mesh, you know? So like I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for this. But like you've genuinely stumped me here. That one I would have to sit and think, and I would have to start researching a lot of vehicles in order to actually figure that one out. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have anything good for you there. We might do that as a video. See, this is where I need to start writing down video ideas. Just open up a blank notepad, like, and just like new style triple changers, or new styler triple changers as I've written it. Would you like Haslab Star Saber Sword roleplay toys that scale with the SSA6 Matrix to be placed in the hilt like Primus Star Saber? Honestly, no. Because I have extremely little attachment to the Star Saber sword as it's depicted as Prima's weapon. Also, you have to remember how big the 86 Matrix is. Like, it's going to be huge. So the sword, and you have to remember how like small that Matrix is in the hilt of Prima's sword. So like you're talking about a hilt that's like this wide. You would end up something with larger than a Buster sword. So unfortunately, no. No. Now give me Star Saber's saber as a roleplay item, then we're talking. Now that G1 RC's finally had a toy thanks to Missing Link, do you think Takara will do the same for G1 Unicron to coincide with the 40th anniversary of the 86 movie? We would have heard about it a long time ago. Considering how far in advance they announced Missing Link stuff, they would have announced it like in the middle of last year. if they were actually going to release that for the 40th anniversary. So no, I don't think there's any shot of that for the 40th anniversary of the movie this year. But I do think a missing link Unicron is inevitable. It'd be crazy expensive, but it's one of those like we never got it type items that still needs to be done at some point. I still have not made a decision on if I want the like the prototype color version of that RC or like the cartoon color RC. I still haven't come to a conclusion on that. I'm still like torn. I want that RC toy. I absolutely want that RC toy. I'm just very divided. If Godzilla X Transformer crossover comic happens with Godzilla and Mothra on the Autobot side and King Ghidorah and Rodan on the Decepticon side, other than the obvious Decepticon and the other kaiju antagonists, what secondary villains can work as the final threat to have both sides probably temporarily team up to stop? Quintessence being the creators of Gigan have, oh my god, dude. Shark, you know not to do, like, Shark, you've been on these Q&As long enough. Like, you know not to do something this long and convoluted. This is not like a short, like, punchy question. Now, you've already ruined it because you've taken away King Ghidorah. Like, literally, the only threat bigger than any of them would be, like, some, like, Unicron-fueled destroyer. That's basically the farthest you could go with that one. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that because, like, I feel like if I go into this any deeper, then I'm interfering with a fanfic you wrote. So I'm just gonna say like the only villain I could come up with is Destroya with some Unicron flair. Also, like, weird that Rodan's on the Decepticon side. Like, traditionally he's a Godzilla ally, but your story. How many main Autobots is good amount for a cartoon? I know it's Prime, Beast Wars, Animated all start with 5. I think 5 is a good starting point. 6 is pushing it. I think ultimately I like a cast in a cartoon as far as like mainstays to top out at 7. Like I would say like you start with 5, like you eventually add 2 more to the cast, maybe swap one of the previous 5 out for someone new, but everyone else just needs to be a like come and go character. I think at the very most 7. After that, I think, and you have to work up to 7. Anything after that, I think you're juggling a little bit too much to create a concise story. You know, you look at like Transformers Earthspark. Yeah, the Terrans started with 2, and then with like the main Autobots being like main parts of the cast. But the Autobots kind of fade into the background a little bit when 3 new Terrans come up. So, you know, they kind of rotated that way where it was just the Terrans and Bumblebee, and everyone else was kind of used as needed. So you have to keep it to that like 5 to 7. Otherwise, you're going to lose track of people and, you know, not get enough focus on anyone. Do you think that vampires could come back? Not in the least. No nostalgia, no success in the past to draw from. Yeah, it's like that's a completely dead franchise and probably for the best. Since Blockies have been acquiring licenses left and right, what's a franchise you'd like to see them tackle? I'd personally like either Digimon or more waves of Power Ranger Sentai, so they only did King Oger and Kyoryuger. I would love for them to do more Sentai. Get to Bokenger, we're talking here. I'm not as familiar with like the other things that Blockies have been doing. Outside of I know they're doing Mega Man, and that's going to rob me blind when that drops. I'm going to need so many of those. As far as other licenses that would be fun, like they're doing so much of my favorites already. They're doing Transformers, Mega Man, and Kamen Rider. I'm pretty much sold there. And they're doing Pokemon now. I have a beautiful Scyther on my desk that's beautifully articulated thanks to them. Digimon is a good shout, though it conflicts a little bit with their Pokemon license. Honestly, I might like Nintendo in general, you know, like as a way of putting together like Smash roster characters that are like similar in aesthetic and articulation. So like a toy line where like so like a toy line where I could have like Samus, Link, and Mario, and I don't know, multiple forms of Kirby to take up the box space. Something like that, I guess. Because the answer, like, because literally, like, there's a dozen different answers to this. I could say Ninja Turtles. I could say, I'm looking around. I'm looking around. What else do I like? I'm just looking at my desk. Owl House and Freerun. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot I would be into. Let's see, what repaints retools could you see Hasbro making out of the 13 primes? So, from the ones I've seen, the ones I am banking on right now, we know that Liege Maximo is most likely going to be retooled into Unicron Soldier from the leak listings. I'm expecting that to look like Transformers Prime Unicron. If we're looking at others, I would expect to see a cartoon accurate version of Prima, since the one we got is like completely off color from how he appeared in Five Faces of Darkness. I would expect to see who else is good. The one I was big on was Quintus being retooled into Botanica, because I literally think it's the only mold that's ever existed that even has a shot of making that work. I really think we're going to get Megatronus retooled as IDW Megatron, because that's the only way I can make sense of that toy coming with a Megatron shoulder barrel that otherwise just adds an extra extension to his cannon turret and is otherwise useless. Those are the ones I can think of right now. Like, if I've got my 13 to my right. If I stare at them long enough, I could probably think of repaints and retools. I wouldn't be surprised to see like some of the US exclusive repaints from Cybertron Vector Prime be done from the new mold. I could see it being done in the gold color scheme, especially. I have no idea what you do with Amalgamus. Good luck. What if we got smaller versions of the leader class figures like Armada Megatron, Rise of the Beast Scourge, and Revenge of Fallen Scavenger as Voyager and Deluxe toys? So, I had this idea a while ago, and I champion this every chance I get, is to kind of go back to that Cyberverse scale that they did for Prime and Dark of the Moon. So there's like a small, affordable range of Transformer toys that all still have a scale to each other. And then for the Generations line, you pepper in characters like what you're talking about. Ones that would still be in scale with the small Cyberverse toys, but would still be like full deluxe size. So, a Jetfire, for instance, that scales to the like larger Cyberverse scale Optimus Prime would be a deluxe. A City Former might be like a City Former might end up being just a Voyager class toy, which means I get to have my G1 Scorponok in a small desktop size like I've always wanted. And then like your leader class would get into like, here's just a Unicron. Here's a Unicron at leader class. So things like that. So like just like ways of like trickling like weird stuff into the main line, but it all relates down to this affordable line that's mostly for kids, but gives you like a small way of collecting Transformers. So yeah, you're kind of in the same ballpark that I am in there. Could Transformers Collaborative transition from giving famous cars, vehicles, robot modes to giving famous robots alt modes? That's an interesting take. That's a twist. I'm not entirely sure how many famous robots you could really do that with. You'll excuse me, it's late at night, so I'm going to be transitioning between water to keep my throat clear and caffeine to keep me awake. So, like, Johnny 5 comes to mind. That comes to mind. God, famous robots who don't transform. If they want to do a crossover with Gundam, they've done stuff with Bandai before. We have a transforming, we have a Takara got to release a little carved white base, so like that's not impossible to do. it'd be weird to do, and I think it would be more limited, but yeah, like I do think that that is a viable idea. In the event that we ever get a Transformers toy line cartoon where all the characters had mythical creatures as their respective beast modes, what one particular mythical beast do you think would be really difficult to get a robot to transform into? Uh, uh Lernian Hydra, a Gorgon, Centaur mixed with a Centaur mixed with a mermaid, Ichio Centaur, which I know is a hippocampus. No, it might be part of the brain. Celia or an Asiatic dragon. So here's the fun thing. I did a video once upon a time on a Beast Wars fanfic that I concepted and I did like the layout for, but I never actually wrote. And all the characters were mythical beasts. They were they were basically designed to be like a Beast Wars story, but everyone had like these like chimera beast modes that turned out to be based on mythical creatures. So to be honest with you, I figured out most of them. So so like the Ichthyocentaur, like I have the like I don't know it's a different creature, but it's like front half horse, second half, back half mermaid, like fishtail. I came up I figured out a transformation for that, which means what you're describing wouldn't be too far off for that. When it comes to like a Hydra, I figured out a Hydra. I actually came up with essentially a Beast Wars version of Six Strike, not with 6 forms, but 6 heads. So you could do the Hydra. I have figured out how to make a Hydra work. I figured out how to make a Griffin work. The easiest one, a Sphinx work. The easiest one to figure out was obviously like things like Pegasus, Phoenix. The Phoenix was so good. I was actually happy with like how I worked the Phoenix. Beyond that, I do think the Asian style of dragon is the hardest one to figure out, especially to make a functioning toy from. Because you saw it in Dinosaurs, they made one of those. It's not a particularly it's not a particularly well-made figure. It's kind of infamous for being pretty jank and getting by just on how cool the trick to its transformation is. So, yeah, I think you're on the nose there. I think everything else is doable because I've already done it, including the basilisk. Oh no, was it the basilisk or was it the other one? Oh, what's the other one turning into stone? The chicken-headed one. Oh, cockatrice. It's the cockatrice I figured out. Basilisk I could probably handle as well. For the month of love, what are your thoughts on Ironhide and Chromia's relationship? You think it should have a bit more of a spotlight? To be honest, like, we've never really explored it beyond the G1 cartoon. You know, like, Ironhide and Chromia have been seen together very sparingly since then. IDW put them both on security detail, but, you know, there was no sparks flying or anything. I wouldn't mind them trying that again. But also, like, there is a little bit of me that's, like, iffy, because a lot of those G1 female Autobots basically existed to be, like, boyfriends of established cast. I think that's a little bit weird, so I kind of prefer you keep the characters apart so that Chromia can just grow and be her own thing without having to crowbar her back into that G1 characterization of Ironhide's girlfriend on Cybertron. But as with most of this, depends on how you write the story. How about the idea of a TF collab figure of the SM-13, aka the submarine from Iron Lung, maybe 2-packed with a transforming figure of the Blood Beast? Didn't play Iron Lung, did not watch Iron Lung. Not because I don't want to support Markiplier and a YouTuber sticking it to Hollywood. I absolutely do. I love that. I love that he was beating out Disney. That's hysterical. I'm not a horror movie guy. I'm not a horror game guy. So unfortunately, I have no idea what that vehicle looks like. And I have no idea what the Blood Beast looks like. And that's one thing I'm probably not going to Google. But that's where I stand. So unfortunately, I cannot do anything for you there. Do you prefer Power Masters or God Masters? Same thing. Same thing. I think God Masters is a little pretentious as a naming scheme. I will stick to Power Masters. Turning into engines makes sense for Power Masters. Which is worse, Beast Machines, the weak component, or Transformers, deviations? I mean, with the weak component, you're dealing with one moment of character assassination. That is Rat Trap being willing to betray his friends for the sake of guns. For deviations, most of the cast is out of character solely so they can hate Hot Rod. Like, deviations, I will stand by this, I still stand by this, is the worst piece of Transformers fiction in existence. It is worse than Bot. It is worse than Carnage in C minor. It is worse than The Last Knight. It is worse than everything because it is nothing but a hit piece from some guy who has been butthurt for 30 plus years over his hero dying as a child and blaming the wrong robot for it. Why someone was paid to basically fanfic a hit piece on Hot Rod. A scenario where nothing in the book is what would have happened in the movie had Optimus Prime survived. We did that on this channel, by the way. I recast that entire concept, and I think it came out way better. But yeah, it was a hate fic that someone was paid to write, and they should have, and some editor at IDW should have looked at it and went, we're not printing this. We are absolutely not printing this. It's in such mean spirit. Why is the cast in that comic book angrier at Hot Rod when Optimus Prime survived than they were when Optimus Prime died? It makes no sense. And the fact that so many of the movie characters get killed off. It's literally just someone who hated the 86 cast of characters. And I'm getting worked up over this. I'm getting so worked up over this. Okay, okay. Go watch my video. I despise that comic book. When I go to comic book shops, I actively look for copies of that book so I can bring them home and burn them on camera. Luckily, I've not found an issue. With Digimon having a bunch of guns and blasters, would Michael Bay be a good director for a Digimon film? Probably. Probably. He loves his big explosives. Yeah, I could actually see that. Weirdly enough, I could see that. Of course, he has no way of working the military into the digital world. Like, you can't get Michael Bay to direct a movie without, like, you know, like really coddling the U.S. military at the same time. If we get more Autobot Megatron, would you like to see more Decepticons switch sides with him, or would that take away from the impact of it? Also, it's disappointing we haven't seen how Lugnut would react to such a thing. So, I do like the idea of a few Decepticons switching along with Megatron. We did eventually see that in the IDW books. Well, Thundercracker switched technically before Megatron did, but Soundwave came around after. Like, Soundwave allied with the Autobots, you know, after he felt betrayed by Megatron switching to the Autobots. So, like, his development came about. We got that, at least. For as far as, like, others switching over, I could absolutely see it creating some kind of division in the Decepticons. Aside from the power vacuum, there's the ideology difference from whoever the new leader is. So it's hard for me to say, like, who would, like, go along with Megatron to the Autobots, but you do have a point in that it would kind of like undercut it if, you know, a whole crew of Decepticons decided we're just Autobots now. I think it works best ultimately if it's just Megatron, because it's more impactful, it's more interesting. Oh, Ravage switched over too, by the way. So we actually did get that. We did get that. Ravage switched to the Autobots, or at least aligned with the Autobots after he, after his discussion with Megatron and realizing that how much better Megatron was, to the point where like his last words were "Don't change back." He didn't want him to become the tyrant anymore. It's very poignant. Ravage was a good boy. Ravage was the best boy in those books. What was the better G1 Solid Optimus Prime but different truck? Volvo Collab, VNR Optimus Prime, or Classics Voyager Optimus Prime. So, hang on. Wait, VNR wasn't like G1 Solid Optimus Prime a different truck. Okay, so my answer to this is probably still going to be Laser Optimus Prime, because I like the idea of like going like more modern with his overall design. Also meant armoring up and going like more heavy ordnance, like getting more serious and powering up, as long as he was like reformatting into a modern truck. But hang on, I know you can probably hear it. So my new fan that I put into this room has a timer to shut down when it has been running for too long, which is great power saver, but also when I'm in the room, this room is very hot. So I need that thing to stay on, please. So to answer your question, between those two, I do prefer the Classics Voyager Optimus Prime. Underrated toy. Really, really like that toy. I like that the VNR did different things, still ultimately leading to still like a normal looking Optimus Prime. But I don't know, there's something about the Classics design that I just always really liked. What molds do you think Hasbro retool for Snarler and Deftwing? Oh boy, now I need to remember who Snarler and Deftwing are. And this is where I go over to, I mean, Snarler, I do remember. I don't know who you'd use. Deftwing is the one that's escaping me right now. See, I can almost see, I'm looking at Deftwing's design overall, like how low the cockpit sits. I would be looking at like an Energon Starscream. If they did a modern Energon Starscream, Deftwing would absolutely be in my like potential retool category. As like out of existing molds right now, maybe the Armada Starscream. Maybe the Armada Starscream. It needs to be something where the cockpit hangs low in the robot mode. It's just like, you're not going to get that big weapon though. They're not going to dedicate half the toy's budget to that weapon. And then Snarler. Yeah, he is the pig pretender. That is another, that one is tricky. That one's tricky. I feel like you could get a quick, easy retool out of the modern, oh my god, why did I just blank on his name? Carnivac. Like, I think you could take that Carnivac retool they did of Weird Wolf, and that you could potentially work into a Snarler, because he's supposed to be a warthog, but he's like too thin in his proportions to really make that work. Like, his legs are too scrawny. So like getting away with like a Weird Wolf retool the same way that we got for Carnivac, I think that would actually like play out best. Man, but we're digging deep to get those obscurities in there. How would you think they would release the frame for Nexus Prime? Or what would you prefer? Deluxe member sold as a Voyager that comes with one piece of a frame. Box set like the other Commander, or Nexus with a frame sold as a Commander. I would expect Nexus to be sold as some kind of like, probably like a store exclusive Commander. So you'd probably get a repaint or retool of Nexus Prime as like a replacement for Silverbolt, and then the frame is just straight up the Silverbolt frame, retooled or like repainted to match. That's probably how you would get it. I'm really confused as to how they expect to actually make this work, because in order to actually have like a proper version of Nexus Prime, you need a tank to be one of the legs, and the Brawl mold, as far as I know, is not compatible with the frame of Superion. I know the connection points are the same, but the engineering isn't. Like, the overall engineering of it isn't. So I don't know how that would work, if that would work. That's the difficulty I'm coming up with right now. And even if you do that, I don't like the idea that you are erasing Heatwave, because I think he's the coolest of the 5. Like, it's just, Hasbro wrote themselves into a corner when they decided Nexus was just going to be a normal Voyager toy. Like, everything about that toy has suffered because of that call. And I just feel like I would be perfectly okay with them completely redoing this concept next year. Like, don't even bother reusing Nexus the way he's going to come out this year. Just make a Heatwave figure and just package that with the frame. Don't even bother with making this Nexus work, because it doesn't. When they reissue Earthrise Prowl for Studio Series 86 More Than Meets the Eye collection, should it use the exact same tooling but with transparent plastic replaced with opaque plastic? Or should they do that while also retooling the head so it actually matches Prowl's cartoon head, rather than just being Blue Streak's head and Prowl colors? It's very astute of you to realize there is a difference between those two. I would prefer the retool, but I don't think we're going to get the retool. I think it's just going to be a straight up reuse of the original mold, just with opaque plastic. So, naturally, I would prefer it to be more screen accurate, but I'm going to get what I get here. It's nice to know that that Blue Streak tells me we are going to get that Prowl eventually the way I want him, in plastic that isn't going to self-destruct. If you were in WWE as a wrestler, which belt would you go for? So 24/7 belt left? That's about the only one to have a chance of winning. Oh my god. If you're a WWE wrestler and you're not going after the world title in your division, why are you even in the industry? Everyone should want to compete for the world title. That said, I have a lot of respect for the Intercontinental Championship. I wouldn't say no to that. Here's a Takara Tomy Bandai collab that will never happen, but it's fun to think about. What if there was a Decade-style Kamen Rider named Kamen Rider 13th? Where they have a Deca driver that's painted to look like the Matrix leadership, and instead of using Rider cards, he uses Prime cards, so he can access forms of the 13th Primes. It's a wild idea. You are essentially giving him the ability to tap the powers of demigods at will. I feel like the best way to make this work is if you design it so that Prima is the super form of the season, Megatronus the Fallen is the Berserk form, and Optimus is your final form, or like the 13th is your final form. That would be the way I would pattern that. That's assuming he'd be a main rider and not a tertiary. But there you go. It is a wild idea. Because we have a Cobra Commander, is there a Gecko General? Unfortunately, no. I don't know of any kind of like Gecko General. There is a Lizard Lieutenant that I'm aware of. We got one of those. But yeah, no Gecko General, not that I can think of. If they're going to do a Dumb and Dumber crossover, I demand it includes a Headmaster bird with the optional tape deck. Sure. Sure. I mean, if they do, like, anytime they do collabs, they do goofy stuff to reference, whatever it came with. We're getting a rubber chicken gun with, like, the upcoming Stranger Things one, which I don't even like Stranger Things, but I think that toy looks really, really good, and I want it. One of Volcanicus was made up of secondary team Dinobots consisting of, like, the paddles. I would accept that if, like, it's a separate team of Dinobots who make up Volcanicus. I'm still probably not going to like Volcanicus ultimately, but the idea of, like, the Dinobots having a heavy themselves is kind of terrifying. You know this, right? The Dinobots are the heavies. They're the ones the Autobots bring in when there's just too much for Optimus Prime to handle himself. So when the Dinobots can't handle something and they're calling in Volcanicus, run. Also, I know the fandom loves paddles, but, like, I definitely feel like we need someone more threatening than paddles in the team. Notice this. I mean, I have noticed this where I have these Hispanic names in here that are like they all use the same letter. There's alliteration to the names. And then here's another one down here. They're becoming familiar though, so I'm fairly confident they're different people, but it's very weird to me that they are, like, very similarly formatted. So, like, I'm gonna be honest, this has me, like, a little bit sus. I'm I'm probably way off, but I'm like, it's weirding me out. What's a show that at first you thought I'm never watching it because something isn't appealing to me, but when you watch it, you end up loving it? I could say that of the Owl House. I could say that of the Owl House because, like, I don't really care much for most of Disney's cartoons these days. I could say that for Kamen Rider Gaim because originally the fruit design was, like, weird to me. Say that about Kamen Rider X8 because, again, the designs were weird. But all three of those shows ended up being fantastic. Um, Usually I have a pretty good premonition of if I'm going to enjoy a show or not. So, like, for the most part, like, I don't usually go in too blind to things. Do you think Studio Series Kranix will be a shelf warmer? Yes, absolutely. Because one, I don't think he looks very cool because Kranix was not designed to look cool. So kids are probably not going to care, especially when they see the vehicle just looks like a flying platypus. And I don't think the character has enough notoriety or, like, knowledge of existence to really be a mover. So yeah, I think that's one of those toys where Hasbro's putting it out there because they have to, because it's just like a big missing character in the franchise's toy line, but it's going out there to die. It just is. Which is weird because they'll do Arbalest eventually. They'll do our Arbalest. They'll do Arbalest eventually. Okay, we have another not illiterate, another alliteration name. This is weird to me. Should the RV Robo be the mecha for the VR Troopers? No. I see what you're going for, but no. If Toei decided to do an anime original Rider or Sentai show themselves, like an actual 40-50 episode with the Tokusatsu writing conventions, what would you like to see be done that you've wished for a long time was not capable in the live action format without needing really good CGI? You are asking me to come up with an entire show on the spot. You're asking me to come up with an entire show on the spot. I'm sorry, I'm skipping that because it's just going to take way too long. Here, okay, there's two of them now. There are two of them now. I'm legitimately going to go back through this once I am done. Hang on. Like, this is genuinely weirding me out. because there's so many of them. All the channels are blank. All of them were created during the summer of 2000. All of them are made around the same time, summer of 2025. So if I go back, yeah, all of them were made during the summer of 2025. All of them are using alliteration. This is the kind of thing that tells me it's the same person who is trying to skirt the rules here. So, yeah, I'm going to say this again. Do not do this. I have no way of proving if all those people are the same. But if I see this continue, I'm gonna tell whoever is doing this, one question per person. You are being incredibly unfair to the rest of the audience. If I am wrong about this and you're all separate people, I apologize. But if this keeps happening, I'm going to get very, very suspicious of this, because literally they're names with the exact same formatting, the exact same style, the exact same random 3 letters at the end, and they are all made around the same time period. I'm promising at least some of these are the same person. I don't want to see this again. I'm not going to do anything about it now, but next month, if I see this repeating and I still feel like this is the same person cheating the system, I will start banning. Okay? Play fair. But for now, I can't prove anything, so I'm going to continue. How would you feel if a figure you really desire gets revealed one of those weeks you take off for vacation, so you miss a pre-order, and by the time you get back, the topic is so cold the algorithm buries your video? I am not going to miss the pre-orders because there's always somewhere that's got it up for pre-order still, and even then, I'm not going to sweat it because I will be able to get it eventually. And I really don't care about the algorithm. If it's something I am passionate about, I'll make a video of it no matter what. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give like really short, crappy answers to all these like alliteration plus 3-digit names. How would you call a fusion between Shockwave and Shockeract? Waveract. I don't know. See, when Optimus got Megatron's arm in Skybound, it worked because of how Optimus' arm usually transforms. When fans do the same for other continuities, they often don't consider if the transformation would work. So what's another Optimus Megatron arm pairing that would work transformation-wise? Are you asking me to think of all of the different Transformers from around the multiverse and come up with 2 that have body parts that end up in the same location or would fit? What is this Q&A session? What is this Q&A session? This is like the weirdest one we've had in a long time. Geez, I genuinely don't know this one. I genuinely have no idea. This is an incredibly bizarre question. This is an incredibly bizarre question. And here's the thing, I would even argue that the question is like a little bit off base, because any arm that is squared off would work in Optimus Prime's transformation. It could be Soundwave's arm because his arm is completely square. It could be Starscream's arm because that arm is completely squared off. That would still work with Optimus Prime's transformation. By that logic, if you take like the modern Seeker design where the arms fold up into the torso, Optimus's arm could do the same thing. Megatron's could do the same thing. You know, it wouldn't be as cool because you couldn't visually see it, but it would work. Like, honestly, like if you want to break it down like that, most limbs, most arms especially, would be interchangeable. What do you want the Morpher to look like in the Power Ranger Disney Plus series? I mean, we know it's going to be some kind. It's going to be either completely original. It's going to be a Mighty Morphin style reboot. We don't know for sure because we've not seen any visuals of it so far. I don't know. Like, I still like the original Morpher, but I definitely would want it modernized. Like, I would love for the coin to slot in like the O's driver, and have like some different way of opening up, like, you know, maybe like out the sides rather than up and down. Um, yeah, like it's hard to say. Like, I'd have to sit down and like really think, like, what would I want the morpher to actually look like here? What I want the morpher to actually look like. But no, like, I'm more traditionalist when it comes to those. Good evening, or rather good night, Mr. TJ. Correct. You know I film these late at night. This time, my Toro Q is about music, since, you know, the most collaborative figures are technically not the first time Sonic and Transformers crossed over. That's because of the late Casey Rankin, who did the Japanese opening for Sonic CD, the Sonic Warrior one, but also that of Ogress, aka the sequel to the original Macross. See, by the way, thanks for the Tenchi recommendations. So, this is not a Transformer Sonic crossover, because, I mean, yes, the same performer did two songs, but like Macross is not Transformers. Like, especially like the sequel series that has nothing to do with Transformers. I don't even think that one used the Jetfire figure. So like, I appreciate you trying to drop the trivia tidbit, but I think it's a little bit off. I honestly, like, you probably could dissect a lot of what happened between Sonic and Transformers. Like, if you start going through like music performers, voice actors, you could probably find a few links here and there, especially the voice actors in Japan, especially there. Do you think if Beast Wars, Waspinator, Inferno, and Tarantulas were the original 1984 cartoon, could they possibly work as elite Insecticon generals? Didn't I already? Okay, this is like third Insecticon question, and here we go again. So, um, I'm trying to think. I've probably used Insecticons for the front, for like the title of one of these Q&As before. I might be forced to do it again, because man, you guys like are very curious about your Insecticons. Um, but for this one, I would see the more like deluxe Insecticon. Honestly, like, we already just confirmed, like, yeah, like Tarantulas would be like one of those like pseudo Insecticons, because it's not really an insect. Inferno and Waspinator would be in there somewhere. I don't think I could call Waspinator a general of anything. If anything, like, I might market like Waspinator and Inferno into the deluxe Insecticons, and then Tarantulas would be like the top Insecticon, hence why like he's not really an insect. See, would you ever make a full video about what makes you enjoy Vivzi's cartoons so much? Even as a single video, those series are pretty divisive, and would be interesting to hear what keeps you hooked. And if I recall correctly, I never made any review of other longer video about them, because for a few reasons. Number one, I have friends who don't appreciate those shows. I really don't want to alienate them by throwing it into their YouTube feed. But also, like you said, they are divisive. I personally enjoy those shows because I do think they are well written. I do think they are funny. I know that a lot of the controversy revolving those shows are from people who just see some clips on TikTok or YouTube, assume that the entirety is just swearing is funny and there's no real storyline, and immediately write off both series completely. They are idiots. They remind me of the chuds who hated Pokemon when like I was a kid, simply because they never played it themselves and they just decided it was uncool. But also, like, there's also like non-controversies revolving Vivzi herself. I've looked into them. I've done the research on these. Like, it's either past work that she's 10 years beyond, and artists have the right to grow and move past like the questionable stuff they might have done before. Nothing in the new material is questionable, so I'm okay with that. They're serious topics, but they are handled seriously. And then the rest of it is, oh geez, what the other one? There was a whole stink about not paying her artists very well, except I know that one is BS because that whole thing was started by an artist who did a little bit of work on the pilot, and when the pilot took off, he went and started demanding more money. She turned him down, and then he started raising a stink about it, started spreading a bunch of BS. You'll notice none of her current staff is complaining about the price that she's paying them. You know, that pretty much ended after season 1, that pretty much ended. So yeah, I find a lot of it just crap. Like, just be honest. There's a lot of people who just hate that a independent woman made it in the industry. It's all it really is. But yeah, that's kind of why I don't talk hell of her stuff. Also, keep in mind, I haven't officially dropped the PG limit. So yeah, discussing a cartoon that is well out of what my algorithm wants me to do when I'm still technically an all ages channel, that's a little bit that's gonna bury me. That's just gonna do no numbers whatsoever. Do you think Masterpiece copying or taking inspiration from Chud designs might be more beneficial in the long run? Maybe not so much a direct copy, but taking the groundwork that they lay and improving them to a high quality standard. Basically, if you can't beat Chud, just do Chud, but better. I think it's detrimental because even if you switch things around to be better, you are still ultimately getting the exact same toy experience for about 4 times the price. And that seems really, really underhanded, for lack of better phrasing. I really do not like this idea. Like, I do not like the next Masterpiece Hot Rod is just a bigger version of a Hot Rod I already own. And a Hot Rod I'm probably going to own again when the pink version comes out. Actually, that'll be the 3rd time I own it because I have the Shatter Glass as well. I like that toy. It's a good toy. I can understand because the engineering behind it is really, really good. But I do feel like it cheapens Masterpiece to just rip off a toy that was done at retail. You could make little modifications to improve it, but ultimately, it just brings it down. Ultimately, I think it makes Masterpiece look bad. And like when I buy Masterpiece, I want the best Transformers experience I could possibly get. I don't want a repeat of what I've already bought. Age of the Prime Nexus Prime for Plastic Addict. Wow. Imagine that. Like if I brought back Plastic Addict specifically to talk about a brand new toy that just turned out that bad. It's going to depend on what I feel about it when I get it in hand, because obviously from the looks of it, it looks terrible. The robot's incredibly bland looking. The vehicle mode looks terrible. The combined mode is not impressive. And yeah, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb because it's super bright and colorful compared to all the other dulled out, more ancient looking colors on the other 13 primes. It's gonna be like, it just stands out terribly. So yeah, that's a questionable one. It'll depend on how it feels in hand, but like it wouldn't surprise me if it was Plastic Addict bad. It genuinely just looks like they phoned it in. How and when do you think we're going to get a G2 repaint of Legacy Motormaster finish off the G2 Stunticons? Haha, joke's on you. We don't even have the dead end yet. We've had 3 of those. We've had 3 of those Stunticons. We're still down 2, not just Motormaster. Hasbro keeps saying they're looking for ways to get it out, and I fully acknowledge, like, we are absolutely going to get it. It's just they're releasing so much right now that there isn't a room in there to get out a $90 toy. So I think at this point they figured like they can just do it whenever, just like whenever they happen to have a gap in whatever else they want to do. But I do acknowledge, like, it is weird. And right now, because it's the 40th anniversary of the 86 movie, And we have just like, there's so much product coming out this month, according to this year, according to the leak listings. This is not the year to do it. I'm going to flat out tell you that right now. Let's see, I have heard of the season 2 plans. I'm glad it was canceled, much as I love what we got. And just because, like, I'm glad it was canceled because I heard the season 2 plans, I know they're talking about the Thundercat reboot. I know what they're talking about. Yeah, if you haven't looked up those, don't. It's nasty. What Autobot or Decepticon would you trust to pick up your food order / pizza? So, I don't have to worry about any of them stealing the pizza. I more or less have to worry about them goofing off or getting distracted. I think that's a Bumblebee job. Like, you want that Transformer who's like your buddy to go pick it up. I wouldn't trust a Decepticon because I don't think a Decepticon would do anything that a human asks them to do, short of maybe Thundercracker. If Thundercracker was in his good boy phase and like was cool with me, but even that's a little bit extreme. Let's see, who are your most wanted characters, teams included for blockies to make? Personally, mine are Primus, Cybertron, Optimus, Star Saber, 07 Blackout. Just release their combiners as a full box set. So, for me, I would start talking like there's obviously my favorites. You know, Star Saber hasn't been done yet. I would love that. The Technobots haven't been done, but they'd probably be way far off. Who else would be good? Who would be good that hasn't been done? Blockies has done so many Transformers at this point. There's not a whole lot. They're getting, here, tell you what, they're getting into like doing like little city bot figures. Like Metroplex is out now in Series 8. The next series has Triptychon. I really want a tiny Metroplex and a tiny Triptychon. I love the idea of getting figures that are always done as giants in small desktop size. So that means they're eventually going to do Scorponok. I will absolutely want a Scorponok. I want a Scorponok because Scorponok's transformation is barely anything. It wouldn't take much for some 3D artist to come up with like alternate parts for his back, alternate parts for the legs to like actually make him transform. That would be actually pretty easy to do. See, did you finish your Armada Hotshot Date Simulator? No, I did not. Actually crashed the entire computer as soon as I tried to load the save file. It's kind of weird. Also, name, alliteration, created in the summer of 2025. Would you be interested in a proper English fan dub of Metal Card Bot? Not a fan dub specifically, because frankly, like a lot, like I know fan dubbing has come a long way. Thank you, Team 4-Star. But at the same time, like I'd rather have it an official dub. Like I'd rather see a cast list and go, oh my god, that person's in it. The only way a English fan dub of Metal Card Bot would make me say that is if I was in the dub, and I wouldn't let anyone actually do that. I do not have a proper sound booth setup. I am not a very good actor. Yeah, like honestly, like it'd be neat because I would like to get more into Metal Card Bot without having to read subtitles, but I don't know. I think I'd prefer an official dub. Isn't it funny? Last year we had Gov, and this year we are getting a Govon. We like Govs. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like GAV just rolls off the tongue. Is it likely the Nexus was supposed to be the second commander class this year, but Armada Jetfire took priority since people have been waiting for him for years? Not necessarily. They did mention that just the way that their release schedule broke down, Voyager is the only place they could really drop Nexus. They talked about making him a proper combiner team, but that dedicates like 4 deluxe slots into like his limbs, and a commander slot, which is extremely limited every single year. They didn't want to make him inaccessible. They were out of space in the leaders, so that, you know, they were talking about like, well, we can make him a leader class, but we can make him do this, so he still kind of combines, and like, no, that doesn't work. So they settled on just making him a Voyager that can swap out for Silverbolt. That's about the best they could probably do at the moment. Now, yeah, like if they had other ideas, like Jetfire coming out is kind of a priority, because the farther out from that Armada Optimus you get, the less chance that toy has of succeeding. So you need to try and get it out while people like still have that Optimus out and about and played with, because the more people have it stored away in a storage bin or a storage unit somewhere, or the more people who have sold it off, or, you know, and just at the rate of them just like getting broken, getting lost, it's getting thrown away, etc., just for various reasons, the number will always go down unless they reissue that toy. But also, I feel like there's room to reissue that toy at some point. Maybe like maybe not this year again, because we're loaded, but next year maybe. Just so that Jetfire has a chance of like actually succeeding. If I was Hasbro, I would like, when that Jetfire officially gets revealed, I would just go ahead and announce, yeah, we're reissuing Commander Armada Optimus next year. So if you don't have it, you can get this toy now, and we'll give you your Optimus Prime later. So that's what I would do, because otherwise, I think that Jetfire is going to struggle. But yeah, I think it's just like this is the time to get that Jetfire out. So like I think Nexus just ends up being the unfortunate figure to suffer from that. Favorite Power Ranger season from the Disney era, and if it's RPM, second favorite instead. Why do you do that to me? Why do you do that to me? Because it is RPM. Like, don't steal the best one from me. It's like objectively the best Disney Power Ranger series. Second one would probably be Ninja Storm, but I'll be honest, I really didn't like a lot of the changes Disney made to the overall presentation of Power Rangers. I didn't like the goofy cartoon noises for all of the weapons. I didn't like some of the writing choices they made. But like Ninja Storm's okay. I'll be honest, I really didn't watch anything after Dino Thunder, with the exception of RPM. I know a lot of people like Jungle Fury. They butchered my baby to make Operation Overdrive. Is what it is. Yeah, I didn't like that era. Let's see. In an earlier monthly Q&A, some asked about making Age of Extinction Stinger into a G1B repaint. So my question is to follow up on this. Shouldn't a G1 Stinger be a cliff jumper body with a G1 Marvel Comic Bumblebee battle mask head? So you're talking about making like the reverse of Bumble Jumper, a Cliff Bee, as it were. Technically, yes. My argument would still be like, I feel like it would be like a Bumblebee style toy, but would much more likely be like a better sports car that the toy is based off of, rather than what Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper were rocking at the time. I don't know my like 80s cars to really give you a idea of which one that would be, but that would be my general idea. Like it wouldn't necessarily be like Cliff Jumper with a battle mask Bumblebee head. It would just be like swap up the body somewhat. Let's see. So do you think that the Decepticons need villainous human allies that act in a way as a human spy that can get access to Autobots for reconnaissance purposes, with a human ally being offered a Cybertronian body once the war is over? So we have had things like that in the past. Starscream had there's Dr. Arkaville that was allying with the Decepticons. There's a few situations where the Decepticons had human allies, always with some promise of, well, you get to rule this much of the planet once we've taken over and left. And then they're always gonna backstab them. They're never going to actually fulfill that. So When it comes to the human allies, we have kind of done that. I do like the idea of Decepticons at least having some, because I think it gives the Decepticons more nuance, you know? When they don't just view humans as like worthless insects, there's something evil and villainous about that, but there's also something very one note and not very thoughtful, especially when they see the human allies for the Autobots coming in handy so much. So I think having human allies kind of shows the Decepticons a little bit more logically working. I died laughing when you came up with Ransack as a fair and Crumble Zone as a guinea pig. It works, doesn't it? What are your thoughts on Tojima wants to be a Kamen Rider? Over the top as hell, and I love it for that. It's a fantastic show. I love that Tackle gets so much like love and credit. Um, it's been many years of unfair treatment. Like if I had my way, Tackle would be labeled a Kamen Rider because she fits literally all requirements. They just wanted Kamen Riders to be a boys club in the 70s. But yeah, the show is really good. It's a massive love letter to the Showa era of Kamen Rider. I've read a little bit ahead with the manga. And I've seen like where it's like story developments are going, and like it's a cool show and it's a cool story and it's a cool manga, and yeah, it's just a really fun read. Uh you think they should have added to for the Beast Wars roster? There are a lot of animals that did not shine when it was out, like my precious fox and raccoon and otter. So they absolutely could have. So we do know that Beast Wars was doing well when they decided to end it. The reason they ended it was because they didn't want to burn it out like they did with G1. So they settled on 3 years being a good run time before switching the entire thing up. Had they gone a 4th year, I don't I like raccoon and otter probably wouldn't have come to mind because it seemed like they were coming. They didn't want to have like they. I don't feel like they wanted animals that were too peaceful in the mix. You know, that's why the ones you got in Beast Wars Neo were like, this is where you get a penguin, a rabbit, a giraffe. You know, far more harmless things. Fox, I am incredibly confused why we never had a Fox Transformer in Beast Wars. Outside of maybe they thought it would have been too similar to Cheetor or Wolfang, one or the other. Yeah, like we missed out. We absolutely missed out. There's so many good animals that they never did for Beast Wars. Fox is very high up on my list as well. With your top 5 worst Transformers set in stone, at least, well, we all hope so, were you ever to expand the list to a top 10, what would your contenders be? I did. I actually did. I went back to my original list and I rethought it. I reanalyzed it and I made a brand new video that was, the 10 worst Transformers of all time, according to me, like reaching over like the entirety of the franchise with a more like matured mindset. Titanium Megatron still takes it. Titanium Megatron still absolutely takes it. But there was a little bit of shakeup in my top 5. I did swap a few things around. Some things fell off. They didn't fall off completely, but they fell down the list into the bottom part of the top 10. But go search it out on the channel. I did make that video. I did expand that list. So you can go watch it right now if you actually are interested in that. When we finally get Masterpiece Astro Train, would it be HO scale to scale with the MPG train bots, or the size needs to be scaled with regular scale masterpieces in robot mode? They focus and prioritize the robot mode, so that's what you would see if we do get a Masterpiece Astro Train, and inevitably screw up that one as well. Then yeah, we would probably more than likely see like the priority in the robot mode. So he should be like a little bit bigger than you're saying. He should be like more like Ironhide scale, or Optimus scale. I had to go back and look at the sound charts. I had to go back and look at the scale charts in order to remember how big Astro Train's really supposed to be. With next year being the 40th anniversary of the Headmaster series, you think it's time for brand new figures of the original 7 Headmasters. By that point, Legacy and Titans Return versions will all be almost 10 years old. The thing is, I look at those Titans Return figures, and I genuinely don't know what I would do differently. Like, maybe you would smooth them out to make them more cartoon accurate, but I feel like they accomplish everything that a modern version of those characters had to do. The vehicle and robot modes are accurate. They are in the scale that they really should be for their characters. Transformations on them are all good. They have the working Headmaster gimmicks. They're good toys. They're very good toys. Like, I don't know if it's necessary to remake them, if I'm being honest. I don't know if the Headmasters are like prominent enough to celebrate an anniversary for. At the most, you might see them reissued in some way, but we already had them reissued, didn't we? I don't know. I don't think it's quite right. I think those toys are fine as is. I don't necessarily think I need to see them done again. How would you think the live action movies would be received if the only thing they changed would be the fact that they had accurate G1 akin designs akin to the Bumblebee movie? The writing would stay the same, but I wonder if people would be a little bit more favorable toward them for being accurate. It wouldn't surprise me if the reception was better because the accuracy was better, but overall, like, you can only polish a turd so much. Eventually, it's still a turd. So it's the writing. Like, the movie's failures as just like a media come down to just they're poorly written and they're not engaging, especially like to rewatch. You know, they're even for this, even though like knowing Transformers is my job, technically, there are live action Transformer movies I've only sat through once. I only sat through the last night once, and I'm terrified to do it again. But yeah, they would definitely be better received, but ultimately they would still have the same failings. I think you just basically like curtail some of the criticism, but the valid criticisms of them, the ones that really matter, would still remain. Is a Haslab for a group of characters that are just standalone characters that don't combine viable? Absolutely. In fact, I think you are correct. I think that's like the only way we would ever get a DJD. I don't know if they're popular enough to work as a Haslab, but that's really the only thing I could really think of. Oh my god. Oh, that's timing. So hang on, let me this monthly right now. Okay. Red Claw messaged me to show off his brand new Blocky's Tarn. There's timing. There's timing for you. Do your job then, I guess. God. All right, everyone say hi to Red Claw. I don't know if he watches the Q&As, but there we go. Oh, that's funny. I have friends that message me late at night, and then like there's like it's 3 a.m. So like if someone messaged me this late at night, I go like, okay, what's wrong? So I had to check. Irony. Irony. Okay, where were we? Where were we? See. We're down here. We're down here. Ironically, talking about, oh my god. He interrupted me just as I answered a DJD question to show me his Tarn. That's amazing. But no, if you have the right selection of characters, I absolutely believe a Haslab would be viable for them. Um, it would just have to be like the added benefit of them combining goes into the value you are getting out of your Haslab price. So it would have to be something really, really good. Really, really good. The DJD is a great one because I think it's ones that just absolutely would not work at retail. Here, kids, buy this toy electric chair at Walmart. Not gonna work. Not gonna work. But that like I'm hard pressed to think of like a character, like a set of characters that wouldn't work at retail level, but Haslab would be appropriate for. The DJD is probably the best one I can think of at the moment. Aside from the recent Age of the Prime Skybite, Haslab, Omega Prime, and Legacy Sideburn, will Hasbro ever give us new toys of the other RID 2001 characters? I would love to see that. Like, I still want a proper Scourge because they screwed up the Velocitron one so badly. That would be really appreciated, Hasbro. So if Skybite sold well, and it seems like he sold well, I did not see him stick around my stores very long. If he sold well and he's received well, and he was received well, then yeah, like that shows that there is interest in other RID 2001 product. So this is when you start looking at the bean counters going, okay, well, what else can we do? Rail Racer would be perfect for a Haslab because that is a toy that would not work at retail. The bullet trains sold terribly when they did them in 2001. They ain't gonna sell any better in 2026, 27. So Haslab would be great for them. And you could do them scale too. Say they would be big. Here's the shocking thing to me. For a company that went like, oh, we're completing sets of characters. We just talked about this. For a company that's like, we complete sets of characters. They did a Sideburn, no X-Brawn, no Prowl, even when those toys have very easy repaints that were done over the years. I am like genuinely confused. We don't even have a super mode Legacy Sideburn. It's just a repaint of a toy they only used twice. I'm very confused. I am very confused. I mentioned the Age of the Prime Combaticons getting recolored Dids and Commandos because that's just obvious. They're absolutely going to do that at some point. But yeah, like Hasbro, they'll do more RID characters. It's just a matter of like they need some that are more important and more well known than just like Skybite. That's the hard part. Is like figures that would sell beyond them because Sideburn I don't think did sell as well. Did you collect any of the McDonald's changeables for this year? So I actually have a buddy who has been accumulating them for me. I don't have any of them on hand myself. However, he has been doing Primus's work getting his hands on these for me. Once the promotion is over, he'll actually have access to things like the posters and the cardboard displays, the things that get thrown out. So I will get the whole kit and caboodle. That would be great. So we'll do a whole video on those once I have them. But for now, yeah, I'm still kind of waiting. But yes, I will have all 16 of them. And then I have to dig out all the other ones that I have and do like a big group shot of all the changeables. And then I had to like really beat on Mace's door because my boy in Australia has the two that were exclusive over there. And I would really love to add those so I can say I have a complete set of them. But I'm still waiting on those to ship. Tariffs are down. Thank God. They might actually be able to ship it now. Do you find it funny that Transformers Rescue Bot Season 1 to 3 takes place in the same continuity as TF Prime, yet for some reason Optimus Prime never uses TRX mode against Megatron or Predaking? That is amusing to me. Like, it's always weird, like, that it's like, aligned continuity in general is a mess. So it doesn't surprise me that the continuity between aligned and Rescue Bots, or like Prime and Rescue Bots, is also a mess. you have to assume that Rescue Bots took place at like a weird in-between time that you didn't see, like in between seasons or in between like specific episodes. As my throat wants to give out now. We will not let it though. We will move on. But yeah, like it's funny when you think about it that way. Understandably why they didn't, but yeah, it would have been amusing. Predaking versus T-Rex Optimus Prime. I'm in that sense, I'm going to assume Prime's upgrade that was a thing at that time overwrote any like extra form he got during Rescue Bots. That's my excuse. That's my headcanon. Who is your Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Ranger? It's a basic answer, but it's Tommy. It's the Green Ranger. I love the Green Ranger as a kid. Friend and I are on Kiva in our Kamen Rider adventure. It should be done by the time you see this. What are your thoughts on Kiva? Kiva is my very first Kamen Rider series. I have a lot of love for Kiva. I do find that the storyline can be a little bit weird because of the 2 time period thing. A lot of episodes come down to, Ixa in the past couldn't get the job done for this monster, so Wataru in the present has to clean it up. A lot of plots come down to that, which gets a little bit repetitive. And then there's that weird part where like they swapped out for the final suit very, very quickly because the Kiva suit was so hard to perform in. There's those things. But ultimately, I do really like Kiva. I love the visuals to Kiva. Like, what got me into Kamen Rider in the first place is just that suit design that was just, like, enthralling to me, who had only known Sentai to that point. And I love the stained glass monsters, the Fangire. Incredibly good visual series. Let's see, I'm happy about the Ciampa win. I'm sorry the title reign was so short. He'll get it again. He'll get it again. Who's the writer villain that you felt had untapped, wasted potential to do more? For me, it's Scyther from Gav. For me, it was probably Utopia in Kamen Rider Double. You had a lot of potential with his connections to Foundation X that never went tapped. And he really just kind of showed up at the end of the series as the big bad, and he really wasn't there any longer than any other monster of the week. I really felt like they underdeveloped him dramatically, considering he was going to be the final fight. I could have done with a lot more. Could have done with a lot more. So that's the one where I felt like, yeah, you didn't do enough with this character. The Schedule Conflicts fan reports that somehow YouTube ate my question last month, so I'll try again. I apologize for that. So, YouTube will just randomly put these comments together, and just sometimes it loses a couple. I do apologize if I miss a question. Sometimes it literally just doesn't come up. Is there a spell from Tora's deck of cards you feel was very underutilized during the campaign or didn't even see any use? There were a few that I had as just like, this is like fun flavor stuff, and like, oh yeah, this will come in handy. And then he never got around to it really. Tora had Sunbeam, specifically because the spell emulates natural sunlight, because it looked like we were going to be going up against vampires in the House of Bones. We never really got around to that. So like this like Sunbeam weapon of mine barely saw any kind of usage, and it never saw the usage that it was intended for. Likewise, I had Catapult because I thought that'd be a fun spell to mess with, and that one never really came into play either. I know there's some spells that Tora had prepared that he never really got to use. He had Tongues, but Joust was always like very quick to like throw his version of that spell in, even though it's technically not as good. He had Comprehend Languages, I had Tongues. And Comprehend Languages isn't quite as good, but his player is just very, very good at just jumping straight into things. So I never really got the chance to use tongues much. I know there are some spells. I would have to dig out the character sheet and give you an answer off of that. But I know for a fact there are spells that Tora never got to use. I just can't remember them offhand. If we were to get more glow-in-the-dark Transformers, which current molds would you like to see glow in the dark? Personally, I would love Legacy Transmetal to Megatron and Tarantulas. Glow in the dark is always weird because there's only so many colors you can make glow in the dark. Green's the easiest because it's the cheapest, but you can make it glow blue. Sometimes you can make it glow red, but actually there are sometimes a material that makes glow-in-the-dark plastic turn red instead of green is contraband in the US. Like, import will not allow it through. I learned that being a Glyos collector, because there were 7 glow-in-the-dark red figures in Glyos. I own them all, and they never got to make any more. If I'm thinking of like existing figures, I would love for the Fallen to have like glow in the dark orange for all of his paint apps. So like when you turned off the lights, like you still had this like fire glow to him. That would be super cool. Who would be good? Like, who was a character that would be like really, really neat to do that with? I'm trying to think of like characters that have like some kind of like heat or radioactive like energy glow to them. Pretty much any of the War for Cybertron toys, because all of them are supposed to have that energon glow to them. That would be cool. I would really I would like to see that. Let's see, ones I could think of offhand. Those are the ones I can think of offhand. If I had more time here, if I could really just sit down and think about it, I could probably come up with someone else, but that's what's coming up to my mind the most right now. Maybe Bludgeon's skull. Like, we'll just like scare glow him. Do you think that Hasbro would release a series of Transformers representing different countries? Think G Gundam. So we're getting something akin to that, because, you know, we have like the feudal era Transformers now. So Optimus and his ox cart mode, for instance. But I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind, like, because the flaw that a lot of Transformer fictions have is that they focus on one part of the world. Like, most Transformers are either, like, most Transformer shows either take place, you know, in the United States or in Japan. So between those two, you don't get a whole lot of variety. So, like, if there were like Transformers that specifically represented Australia, specifically represented Canada, specifically represented United Kingdom or like France, Italy, I would be down for that. I would love like a full world tour Transformers series where you just picked up a whole bunch of those. So yeah, like, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that, like a Transformer around the world thing. Would you want a Shin Ranger where the Ranger story is told in 4 to 5 movies? I'll be honest, Shin Kamen Rider is good, but for me personally, it's not my flavor. I think it's a little bit too serious. I like when Kamen Rider still has some camp in it, some jovialness in it. Shin takes itself way too seriously for me, and the pacing of it is absurd. It would have to slow way down. So for me personally, I don't think you need to do... I think Super Sentai is a really, really bad fit for dark and gritty. Let's put it that way. I think you'll just lose the flavor, and you lose what makes it, you know, unique and appealing. But no, personally, for me, I don't think I would like that. I think that's a misfit. Are you excited for Zet's Catastrum to debut in Zets? This was 3 weeks ago, so not only has Zet's Catastrum debuted, we also know the alternate version of it. That's not in the show yet. I won't spoil what it is for those who are sticking to the show, but they've shown it off in magazines. It's really cool looking. I love Catastrum. Just the idea of like a super buff super mode Kamen Rider is so absurd and unique. Like, we've never had anything like Catastrum in the past. Like, it's not a berserk form, it's like a rage form. It's just like I am locking in and I am crushing everything in my path kind of form. It's really neat. I've loved Catastrum. Yeah, it's such a good look. It's such a good design. With G.I. Joe Transformer collab, we got Joe 3.75 inch figures, well made, 3 3/4 inch well made figures. What do you think of them doing a similar 3 3/4 inch figure pack, but with original Transformer humans like Spike, Sparkplug, and others? So I wouldn't mind that. Honestly, that would have been fun for the G.I. Joe figures if they came with like Spike and Sparkplug along with the G.I. Joe members. We do acknowledge that 3 3/4 inch for most Transformer toys is going to be wildly out of scale. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like it's been long overdue for Spike and the rest of the human cast to just have good toys themselves. You know, you could expand that to just human cast from other cartoons as well. According to you, which has been the best price point for a Transformer toy line throughout the years? In my opinion, Voyager class has mostly been the best price point for a Transformer, where most figures aren't compromised or missing something for the price. You are correct. You are correct. I absolutely believe that the Voyager is this nice medium where the toys are not overly expensive, or they weren't overly expensive, but they're still large enough and complicated enough to be very satisfying in the hand. Deluxes, especially these days, can be like a little bit too simplified, so I'm not really getting like a really strong vibe out of them. But Voyagers tend to be like a nice blend. Voyagers tend to be like spot on, and throughout the years, they've been really consistent about being like the nice middle ground between the quality that price gets you and like the size and ease of play pattern that smaller gets you. Love your videos. They're part of my daily routine before leaving for work. If you have like, well, this is going to be like 2.5 hours at least. If you got that much time to work, time to kill before work, I good on you. But I'm glad it's part of the routine. That makes me feel good. What are your thoughts on the new upcoming Owl House graphic? There we go. Yes, we absolutely love that Owl House is getting a continuation. So, no kidding. I have my desk, because I'm a collector, I made specifically sure that my desk had a hutch. So I have shelves above my monitors, and dead center here are my Owl House figures. I have the Funko Pops that were released. I have the little figures that I reviewed for Toycember once upon a time. They're unofficial, and I don't know how Disney didn't come drop the hammer on them, but they're super cool. Yeah, love that we're getting a little bit more. And then Knights of Guinevere getting the green light is also really, really cool, because that was also a really, really good show. So yeah, Dana is winning on all fronts right now. We get to revisit Owl House, which she said she wasn't going to do, but hey, according to her, she was already working on it when she was saying that. And yeah, Knights of Guinevere, which is basically a big middle finger to Disney storyline wise. She gets to have a whole cartoon to give Disney a middle finger while still working with Disney. I love this chaos. We have a vector prime and a matrix. The next mathematical object is the tensor. How would you include that into the Transformers mythology? What? I mean, a tensor? Why are you guys making me Google stuff now? Multilinear relationship between a set of algebraic objects with social within a vector space. I have no idea. I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what this is, so I have no answer for you. Also, alliteration name made in the summer of 2025. I'm just calling them all out now. What's the one that got away in Transformers or collecting in general? Oh my god, how many? How many and where do I start? I almost had the black and gold Megazord from the original Mighty Morphin run, but I couldn't convince my dad to buy it because it was just the same toy I already had. But I saw one in person. It was there. I just couldn't talk him into it. Transformer wise, there's been a few. I remember in BotCon 2010, I actually had the chance to get one of those Wonderfest exclusive, like 1 day out of the year figures, which I think was Wheelie. So that would have been incredibly like rare and like obscure piece for the collection. Didn't get that one. I'm trying to think of one that like I had the chance, passed it up, and I still do not have in any way. I will tell you the really, really rare one that I will never have another chance on. So, I have my Scyther Swarm collection. You know me, my favorite Pokemon. You can't see it. It's just below, like, if you see here, it's just like, it's one shelf below that. I've shown it off on Blue Sky. There's a figure that was released in 2001 that is a 5-inch Scyther figure from Hasbro. I think there's one version from, I think, the Master Quest line, and one that was from like the Johto line, Johto League Champions line, I think it was. But one is normal Scyther, one is shiny Scyther. So once upon a time, I found those on eBay for 70 and 80 bucks in package each, and passed on them, thinking like, that's a little bit steep for toys I'm gonna open up. Back then, that was steep for me. I have bank now. Well, not a lot. Not a lot of bank, but like I could blow 70 bucks on a rare piece kind of bank. I could have, these days I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But I thought, okay, you know what? I think it's a little much. I'll wait for a loose one to come up and I'll buy that. And then I proceeded to wait for a decade or more. This toy never came back up because it turns out it was an end of line release on a line that was already super rare and exclusive. So there was none. Like, it's just an ungodly rare toy. I have seen it come up right now on eBay. The shiny version is on eBay, loose complete, for like $900. There's no shot of me being able to afford that. And there's another one. I tried to get this one. Someone had one that was on card, but the card was devastated. The card was in terrible condition, like folded in half bad. But it was a sealed version of the toy. And I thought to myself, okay, what's the most I can absolutely drop on this and still sleep at night? I'm not going to say what it was. It was multiple hundreds of dollars. The final bid on it was over $600. Even in terrible condition, it still sold for that much. And it's like the one toy in like one of my most prized collections I can just never get a hold of. I do have it, technically, but it's missing the wings. And I've never found a loose complete one that was affordable, and I've never found those wings on their own. So it sits there in the collection as a centerpiece, but it's using replacement wings. So it's 80% the rare Scyther figure. But like, they're just crazy expensive and crazy rare. I'm probably never going to have a full one. It's the truth. And that's really the one that got away, is the original ones that were below $100 and that $600 one. Those are the ones that got away, and I have yet to have a good opportunity to rectify that. I could go on all day about the toys that I had a chance to get and just passed me by. But I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that today. Would Toei Spider-Man be a good candidate to be a Kamen Rider? Only asking because he's a professional dirt bike rider. Something would hold him back. It's weird because like he doesn't work the way a Kamen Rider does, because Spider-Man is supposed to have all of his powers all the time. You know, he doesn't transform. Technically, he just puts on a costume. So it is a little bit different. He technically works in the same vein as a Kamen Rider, but you could also just say the same thing of like a lot of those other Toei Tokusatsu heroes like Zubat and Inazuman. You could get away with a lot of those. Like technically, they all kind of work the same way. What would you do if you met someone from another dimension that offered you a titanium Armada hotshot that also had clear plastic? Kick them in the dick. I told you, I'm just going to give terrible answers to these names that are all exactly alike. Summer of 2025. Completely blank channel. All these channels are blank, by the way. No videos, no posts, no nothing. No profile. Yeah, and it's always 3 Hispanic names with the same letter in the front. If this is one person that is just spamming questions and cheating my rules, I am going to block every single account. Okay? If that is the same person, I can't prove that it is, but if that's the same person, I am going to start blocking these questions, or I'm going to start ignoring you. One or the other. So please play fair. If you are one person using all these different burner accounts, I better only see one of them next time. I have now warned you twice, because this is absurd. You've had like 10 questions. Okay, since you and I share the same favorite final form in Kamen Rider, what is about Wizard Infinity Style makes you like it so much? So for me, it is just like it's a perfect form to go to for Wizard to be a diamond. I do like the sharp angles of it. It's not overstated or over complex. It just looks super pretty with the like the slightly blue crystal and the silver trim. It's a great color scheme. What I love about it, it's not gold. I am so tired. I got so tired. We're avoiding it now in Kamen Rider, thankfully, but I got so sick of gold final forms. Oh my god. Pick a new color, please. But yeah, it's a gorgeous form. It just is. The color scheme is spot on. The shape is spot on. The diamond aesthetic is perfect for the series. Absolutely fantastic. What's your favorite origin of the Magnus title? I'm not sure I have like a favorite origin for Magnus title specifically. I don't know. Like, I don't mind IDW's way of like handing it down, but also there's like a House of Magnus thing or something in like one of the Japanese fictions, I think. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I haven't even thought of Magnus as a title very much outside of like Transformers animated. That one takes a little bit more thought. What's your favorite dessert? Huh. That's tricky. It's like I have a lot. I have a lot that would fit into that. It's like, there's obvious stuff, had ice cream on the way home from work, actually. Um, Bluebell makes a banana pudding ice cream that's amazing. They used to make banana fudge ice cream that was even better. That was the best thing I ever had. Beyond that, I mean, I like a brownie, I like a cake, like I like sweet, fluffy kind of desserts. Um, there's so many. There's so many I can't answer for this. I don't think I have a specific favorite dessert. I like my sweets in general. I just do. Um I'm trying to think of like if there's like one that's like out there. There is. There is. And it pains me because I can't find it around here. And it's taiyaki. So that's for those who don't know, that is basically that's the you've probably seen it in anime. It's the Japanese fish waffle. And tradition, like typically it's either like a custard filling or it is ice cream. I usually get it with ice cream, but there'd be like you can have other filling in it as well. And there's like and the one I usually get is red bean paste, which is sweet. It's like I'm not a bean fan. I don't like beans, but this is like really, really good. And just like with some vanilla ice cream, a little bit of crushed Oreo on top, it all works together so freaking well. I've only been able to find it in like Orlando. There was an ice cream shop in Orlando where I vacationed last week that had it. Like I specifically wrote that into the itinerary. And then like Little Tokyo when I'm visiting LA. Those are the only two places I've been able to find it in the States. In my area, don't exist anywhere. I've checked every Japanese restaurant. I've checked every ice cream shop. No one around here's got it. It pains me because it's so good. There's even there's like freezer versions that my girlfriend gets, and she constantly teases me because I don't have any Asian stores around here that sell them. You need like one of those really fancy, like really well made like Asian mega marts to find those. Don't have those here. Who would be your picks for a heel Transformers wrestling stable of 3 or 4 members of all generations? This is asking me to choose a roster of characters, which I will not do. We have been through this many times. I mean, to basically make an NWO or 4 horsemen of Transformers, this would take a lot of thought. So unfortunately, that's not a quick answer. So I'm sorry, I'm skipping that one. This has been swirling in my brain for a while now. So here's a hypothetical for you. How would you react if the past almost 20 years you've done YouTube videos was all a dream? Number one, Ben, why do you have to call out the time? Why you gotta age me like that? Holy crap, dude. That's rude. I mean, genuinely, that is kind of rude. But ultimately, like, if that was all a dream, then I would wake up, as a past me, going like, one, this is the stuff I got to write down before I forget the dream. And two, this is the stuff I have to avoid to do this for real. I mean, you're basically asking me what if I had a chance to like reset my life and do it again. And there's definitely things I would have done differently. Massively done differently. But ultimately a lot of it would stay the same. I wouldn't have had I would have made sure not to have that giant hiatus for years on the channel. That's what killed me in the algorithm. I'm still, to this day, I fight against that. So it'd mostly just be like a warning. Like I would probably just navigate the whole thing again, except I would, actually have like the awareness to avoid the pitfalls that I've fallen into over the years. Sorry about that. Would you agree the fun publication went too far in how many new fancy personal continuities they make for a while? Like classics, they made their own fancy continuation of the G1 Marvel, and Wings their own personal original cartoon expansion. Not necessarily, because they used those different universes as the framework for the toys they were making that year. And if you're going to limit them to like a specific fiction, that's going to limit them to like a specific pool of what they can do. So I would much rather, like, I don't agree with what BotCon was creating for toys, especially later on in their existence. I felt like a lot of them lacked imagination, and I feel like they did a lot just because they thought fans would just be dumb enough to buy anything. Like, you have no idea the lack of respect I have for FunPub, because I really think they just ran it as one big scam to sell overpriced repaints. That's like genuinely the way I feel about FunPub. Um, that out of the way, I don't mind them creating different universes if it meant they could explore different possibilities with different toys. So I didn't mind that part so much. Hope you do a video on 3H or the crazy Takara G1 continuity one day if you want. The Takara G1 continuity is like a massive tackle because they threw everything into that. Just to read like the Legends comics alone and make sense of those for a video is daunting, to say the least, let alone to do the entirety of G1 Japanese continuity. 3H we could cover at some point, though. 3H is an entire mess of their own. Do you agree that we need more Transformers whose robot modes resemble animals, i.e. Ravage, Buzzsaw, Ramhorn, Steeljaw, albeit not necessarily cassettes? I wouldn't mind it per se. We tried that with RID 2015, and I do think it gave that show a unique flair and casting for their Decepticons. I wish that series had done well enough that we could revisit that concept. So I feel like if it had done better, it would have felt like a more viable idea to do later on. I like the idea. It would definitely have to be like very specific characters you work it with. Yeah, it just kind of depends. Like, and you gotta keep in mind, in order to do this would have to be a very Earth-based set of characters, because no one who calls Cybertron home is going to like remake their heads to look like Earth animals or anything like that. It's not a bad idea though. I kind of like the idea. Why was movie Starscream always spitting like everywhere? Dark of the Moon, he got some on the camera too. Like why? So it's because to the writers of the movie, Decepticons were just monsters. So they made them snarling, drooling monsters. You know, like you would in like a D&D movie or something. It's just bad writing is what it is. Like they just wanted to make them like gross and menacing, so they just added fluid, for lack of better terms. Here's my question. What's a character you think deserves a modern figure due to their previous one being bad? One I know we all agree is Prime Arachnid, absolutely. As her original deluxe figure was infamously awful, a new Voyager can be better engineered, plus her large spider legs for stalker mode can be a separate accessory that double as weapons for robot and helicopter mode. I do agree with that. Arachnid is very high on my list of like, that toy was absolutely terrible, but the character was great. That deserves another go around. I feel like that would be my general answer to this too. Like I always try, if someone beats me to the punch, I always try to come up with like, well, what's another one? Honestly, like one of the answers I always have to this is Armada Hotshot. I still feel like he has not gotten a properly good figure. The new one's okay, but even that one comes with flaws. You know, and that is a character that was important to a lot of Transformer fans today. You know, that was their Bumblebee, their Hot Rod. So yeah, like he does deserve a good toy, much as I bash on the character because I personally don't like him. That doesn't take away from the fact that a lot of people do. And it's a character that's important to a lot of people, and they deserve to have a good Hot Shot toy. To think of any others, you have me like rattling through Plastic Addict victims. Of course, I'm going to think Plastic Addict of all this. I think the best one, the other one that I could see is Strika. Because that Beast Machine's toy was not great in the first place. It looked next to nothing like Strika from the cartoon. And that's just such a cool character, you know? Like, that's your first Transformer. That's your first female in Transformers. It was designed to just be a bruiser. And like a big, beefy, intimidating character. I would love a proper go at Strika as a toy. She'd have to be like leader class at least. But hey, it's overdue. It's overdue. My aunt found a sealed Revenge of the Fallen Demolisher at a thrift store, and I was wondering what to do with it. She said I could do whatever I want with it, but I really don't I don't really want to sell a gift, but I found out the rubber on the treads degrades, which also has damaging plastic parts are touching. That is a tricky one, Ben. I mean, it is a gift, so it's uncomfortable to sell. In that regard, I would use, like, if I'm gifted something I personally don't want or can't use, I will usually re-gift it. I don't feel right taking money for it, but I will at the very least like move it on to someone who would properly enjoy having it. But, you know, I don't know how close you are to your aunt. So if that is a gift that would be like important to you someday to have around, I would say just kind of sit on it, tuck it away, put it in a closet somewhere. See how you feel about it 5 years from now. I don't know. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I would just, yeah, put in a closet and sit on and just never throw away, never part with, because it's family member giving a gift, but I'm not going to have it out every day either. Lots of comments, lots of comments. Yeah, to the Thundercast 2011, Song of the Pittlers are such a good episode. It's like 90% filler, but it's so good. If we assume the 86 Apology Tour will include end with a Haslab, what do you think was more likely? Studio Series 86 Unicron, Metroplex Autobot City, something else? I'm trying to think what they would do for a Haslab that would interact with the 86 movie that isn't just another Unicron. Because I genuinely do not think we're going to get another Unicron unless it's just like Titan size. You're not going to see anything that competes with the original Haslab Unicron. You're just not. What would it be even? If it has to be Haslab. Like, you could do like a transforming Autobot City, not necessarily Metroplex. He's just like connected to Autobot City. He's not the city itself, but like something that had the play features that you would see. So, you know, it looks like Autobot City in base mode. Like, it has like the transforming towers that turn into the guns. It has like the little like armor closing up thing that crushed Starscream's foot. Things like that, and still had a robot mode. You could get away with that. You could do something akin to that. I really want to come up with something better than that. That's not a great answer, but like, we've pretty much covered so much from 86. Like, to come up with something that's a Haslab that's not a Unicron is daunting. You know what I would love? It's not Haslab, you tighten this. I would love for them to give the same treatment they gave the Ark and Nemesis to the spiral ship from the Quintessons used. Figure out how to make that a transformer. I would go for that. If Kamen Rider Gaim's belt is the Sengoku driver, then shouldn't Zet's belt be the Zenzetsugo driver? Really? That's a little bit forced. That's a little bit forced. Summer of 2025, by the way. I'm just checking this one preemptively. Summer of 2025. I think these are all made within like the same like 3-month window. If you get a TJ wants to be a show, same way as Tojima wants a Kamen Rider, what one would you want to be? TJ wants to be a successful YouTuber or streamer. That's not very difficult. Not very difficult to come up with. Very difficult to accomplish. Speaking of someone who does a lot of 3D modeling and printing, have you ever printed anything for your figures? Not just Transformers, but any figures. I have done 3D print stuff, but mostly what I do is just like, I don't know, displays and like little like backdrop props. I haven't done any like specific accessories because like all I have is like a filament printer. I have a resin printer, but I don't have like I don't have a ventilation system that will let me use that safely. So I've never really printed anything like accessory wise that would require a little bit more like durability to it. Um, yeah, like yeah, unfortunately, like as far as that kind of 3D print experience goes, I'm a little bit more limited. I know this one doesn't alliterate like the others, but same pattern. Summer of 2025. Do you consider yourself part of the Omega Rangers? No. Jeez. If you're gonna cheat and make multiple accounts, at least make good questions. Don't troll me like this. I will just start banning. Do you think it's odd that Autobots didn't get any triple changes until 1986? Not necessarily, because the molds that we got for Astro Train and Blitzwing, those were already done by Takara because they were going to be a spin-off of Car Robots. You know, there are triple changers from Takara we never actually got. You know, like the Jet Pegasus one, like that never came out. That was designed and intended as a triple changer, part of the original Diaclone Car Robots line. They were designs that Takara made, but Transformers took off, so they stopped them from coming out in Diaclone, shifted them to Transformers instead. All of the triple changers you saw after, Hasbro had to come up with all on their own. So that doesn't just include Broadside, Springer, and Sandstorm. That also includes Octane. So the reason why all four of those have their own vibe that is completely different from how Blitzwing and Astro Train feel is because Hasbro had to come up with those rather than Takara. So that's kind of why Autobots didn't get any triple changers. Now, if they had done things, now they view triple changers to be like a Decepticon kind of gimmick, largely because they had plenty of stuff to turn into Autobots and they needed more Decepticons. In hindsight, Astro Train really should have just been an Autobot, you know, because there's nothing really like warlike to either of those vehicles. If you could give Blitzwing a G2 deco, would you do a minor color tweak a la Inferno or Opt, go inverted like Sideswipe, or something else entirely? I feel like I would do something else entirely for him. Like, I don't know what you would do for like crazy 90s colors. I feel like 90s colors would have him like more like stunt show, like bright blues and yellows in the jet mode. That really wouldn't translate well to the tank mode. But that's basically what it would come down to. Like I feel like it would be more like I feel like it would be more like a show jet, like like an air show jet. And then just whatever the tank mode ended up looking like. Yeah, I think that's the closest I could probably get. Since you've always talked about the TARDIS as a potential Transformers collaborative for Doctor Who, what do you think about a Dalek being the Doctor Who collaborative instead? So a Dalek is technically a vehicle because the Dalek is the little creature, like little brain creature that's sitting inside that thing, but it's not technically a vehicle. And also, yes, I do know there's a Decepticon in the Marvel Comics inspired by a Dalek. I am aware of that. And yes, there is more potential to retool it than a TARDIS, but then again, collabs very rarely get retooled, so we don't really have to worry about that. For me, like, I do think the TARDIS is still a better choice. I wouldn't mind a Dalek to go with it. I wouldn't mind it as like a versus pack. Let's put it that way. Though we acknowledge a Dalek is not technically a vehicle. It is if anything, it's like out of the opposite of a spacesuit, a land suit, ground suit, earth suit. I don't know. If you were forced to choose some of the 84 Transformers to swap genders for the sake of that so overused diversity excuse, and you are not allowed to say none of them, who would you pick among 6 of them, 3 for each side? So Sword tied to Valentine's Day and have a happy one with your sweetheart. So for me, like the diversity excuse, when it comes to stuff like this, it's not an excuse because we made it a boys club. You know, we took us 3 years to actually get a Transformer female as a regular character, and she never even got a toy. Transformers came out in 1984. The first Transformer release that was intended to be a female from the start was in 1998. 1997. Transmetal Air Razor. We had females prior to those, but they were molds that were not specifically intended to be female. That's Air Razor's original, Black Arachnia's original, and Night Racer from Bakan. Those were just happenstance, technically. So, yeah, like, when it comes to that, I don't like you referring to, like, that diversity excuse in such a, like, it feels like you're referring to it in a derogatory way, and I don't appreciate that. But if I have to choose, like, these are the characters that should be, like, gender swapped, for me, it would probably be... I'm not gonna do, like, a whole cast of them, but, like, Ratchet was supposed to be a female character in G1, so I would absolutely do it for Ratchet. I would do it for Sunstreaker. Because, frankly, Bumblebee has completely taken over his role. And there's no way for Sunstreaker, as he is now, to stand out from, like, the action warrior style Bumblebee. So I feel like gender swapping would give Sunstreaker a uniqueness that would actually play to their favor. I don't know who else. From the Decepticon side, it would be one of the Seekers. It'd probably be Skywarp. We've gender flipped Skywarp multiple times now. That one's completely fine. Probably flip Frenzy. That way you just give Rumble a sister to annoy him. That would be fun, actually. I don't know. Those are the ones I can think of without like sitting down, like really thinking it out. In honor of March and St. Patrick's Day, who is the Transformer that drinks the most besides McAdam? I don't think McAdam drinks the most. I think he's like, because typically the bartender is not getting drunk on their own. It's like with that, like, you don't get high on your own supply thing. Bartender don't get drunk on his own swill. You don't do that. I think canonically we have technically an alcoholic in Transformers, and unfortunately is Trailbreaker. And he kind of fits that because he's like the middle-aged war veteran dad who's like just like drinks the problems away. That he has that kind of vibe to him in IDW. So like he was a drinker there. Oh my god. Okay. Punchy quick questions, people. What type of content do you think these Transformers make if they were YouTubers? Optimus Prime would probably just be like a daily life vlog. Megatron would absolutely be ASMR trying to do subliminal messaging. Or actually, that'd be Soundwave. Bumblebee would probably be like a road trip series. Starscream's absolutely a prank channel. Starscream's absolutely a prank channel. Every week you try to prank Megatron, it goes wrong every week. Shockwave? Shockwave would be like the weird science experiment channel. Yeah, then Soundwave would end up being ASMR. Question, is there a death battle which you felt it was a mismatch with who was paired up to fight? Whether because they were trying, theme was loose or character analysis made clear who was weaker one beforehand. You already nailed it. It's Frieza versus Megatron. Megatron, there's no iteration of Megatron that comes even close to Frieza in power. Like, not even close. Even if you take Alternity Megatron into account, still doesn't match Frieza. Honestly, I'm one of those that says that Superman and Goku was a mismatch. It's like before he was turning Super Saiyan, Goku was dealing with threats that could literally explode the planet if they tried. Superman has enemies like that, but they're at the top of his typical power level, whereas Goku was dealing with that at base form. And then you see how many power-ups he's gotten since. I really feel like they way overplay Superman's power level in those videos, and frankly way underplay Goku's. So I'll go and start that argument. I think that one was a mismatch. So there, haha. Does the Entertainment Earth link only work on Transformer products or anything on the site? So, thank you for the cheap excuse to shill. No, the link works for everything. It should work for everything. As long as you use my link to go shopping there, it should work. I just have the link set by default to the Transformers section, because that's generally what we talk about here. So it would work for just about anything. So by all means, please use my link in the description below to go do your toy shopping at Entertainment Earth. Does help out the channel. Do appreciate it very, very much. If Soundwave appears in Cyber Mode, what should his vehicle mode be? So you asked this 3 weeks ago. He is going to appear in Cyber World. He's this weird aquatic. He's this like weird aquatic ship. It's a very weird one. It's a very different one. So like we have an official answer for this one. Something aquatic according to the leaks. Yeah. Yeah. I don't, he's like this big mouth tentacle, like underwater vessel. It's weird. Do you think the Skybound run could get canceled if Hasbro gets new management that thinks it's too dark? If it's selling, they'll allow it to continue. That's as simple as it gets. So yeah, simple as that. As a younger fan of Transformers, I noticed you talk about kids in your store or kid-oriented Transformers. What age range do you typically mean with this? Show you footage. I didn't mean to upset you with the Armada smokescreen question. I only saw it as a rush review, not a plastic item. Okay. Fair. Absolutely fair. Yeah, heads up to the younger fans who watch these videos. The channel will probably be going R-rated in the future. These are supposed to be made for adult collectors. So don't reveal your ages. Let's put it that way. As a younger fan of Transformers, as you stated, I'm going to assume you're 18 or 19. For the sake of covering my butt. So, for kid-oriented Transformers, this is typically the age range. The age range I typically talk about is like 5 to 8. Or like 5 to 10 at the most. When I talk about kid-oriented Transformers, like those are the kids in the store. Typically, kids in the store between 5 and 10. When I talk about age range for kid-oriented Transformers, that's typically like between 3 and 7. Kid-oriented Transformers are like the things they released for Cyberverse. You know, like the easy transforming things that had very little articulation, but you know, they just kind of flipped between modes. Or rescue bots, for instance, that are made for like preschool level. When I talk about Transformers for kids, that's what I mean. Toys that are very specifically designed to appeal to little kids, little children, and are not specifically, do not have like an ulterior motive of being like something for adult collectors the way Generations does. So that's kind of where I split that. That's kind of the definition. Which one do you think is worse? An anime never getting a second season or getting a second season that ruins everything? Second season that ruins everything, absolutely. A really good example of this, Big O. I love Big O. It's a really, really cool series. Love the robot design. Love the noir vibe that it gives off. Season 1 would have left off on a fascinating mystery that fans would be discussing for years to come. But it did so well for Cartoon Network that they paid for a second season to air on Adult Swim. And it wasn't nearly as good. It was incredibly confusing. It was very hard to follow. I think a lot of things just kind of undermined season 1. It turned what was like a very well-knit story into like an incredibly confusing, convoluted one. So there you go. That's the example for you. In an all-out battle royale between the 13 primes, who would come out on top and who would be the first one to fall? I feel like... So it really depends on your interpretation of the 13th. Even if it really is Optimus Prime, I don't see him as like the most powerful of primes. I really feel like in just like a straight up free-for-all, your winner is going to be Megatronus. It just is. He is always depicted as the most powerful in combat. As far as which ones would drop first, probably Alchemist. Alchemist is not designed for any real level of combat. The other one in that realm would probably be like Alpha Trion, who is largely a bookkeeper and a history recorder rather than a combatant. It'd be one of those two. One of those two would definitely drop first. Have you ever watched a movie or a television series and thought, why did you make this to the creators due to it being stupid? I cannot tell you how many times. I cannot tell you how many of those series I have watched. God, I could say that about the Machinima Transformer series now that I think of it. Yeah, like, I could go on. Like, do I want to even, like, try an example from my brain? I've said it in past Q&As. I will go ahead and repeat this one because it's legitimately, like, the worst piece of media I think I've ever watched. There's an anime called X1999. And prior to that anime coming out, they did a movie that was based on the manga that barely had any kind of story at that time. The manga was still very early in its infancy. So they had to just make up a whole bunch of stuff for it. So it's this huge cast on both sides. It was so you have two best friends and a girl they're both in love with. And because of this dispute over the girl, they end up on two different sides of a war to either create or prevent the apocalypse. And both sides have like 8 members each, including like a mentor figure. And the movie just throws all of them at you all at the same time. There's this huge battle between like paired up characters between both. Literally everybody dies. Ends with both the girl and the best friend dead and the main hero just screaming and crying in the rain, and that's the end. It is incredibly poorly written. There's way too many characters trying to do way too much in way too short of a time. There's no time to develop anyone, so you really don't care about anybody in this movie, even the main protagonist and antagonist. And it ends on an incredibly depressing note. It is the biggest waste of my time I have ever watched in my life. And I genuinely have no idea what they were ever thinking to make it. Since we've gotten Ferrac and the Motormaster and Legacy United, what other TFCC BotCon characters would you like to see in the future outside of Thrustinator? My pick would be Studio Series 86 Hot Rod as TFCC 2012 Sideburn. That'd be funny. That'd be a funny one to do. There's so many you could pull from. I think I did a video that was like, here are all the like BotCon characters you could make from modern Transformer toys. It wouldn't even be Thrustinator, because that's such an extensive retool. The only reason Thrustinator worked back then is because they had the Beast Wars 2nd Thrustor mold to work with. As far as like which ones I would like to see, I'm looking around. I'm trying to think of like what BotCon toys exist and which ones I really liked. We can do a new BotCon Goldbug. That was like a small holy grail for a long time. I did manage to get one eventually. I would love to see that modern hotshot mold done up into that color scheme. I would love for that color scheme to be easier for people to get because it's a really, really good looking figure. This is the last one I got. This is the last one I got, and it's a very simple one, very quick answer. Do you sell trains at the toy store? No, we do not. There's very little demand for them, and simple as that. It's just not a toy we can generally make money off of. So that's going to be it for the Q&A for the month. Thank you very much for everyone who asked a question. I do apologize if I get surly over what seems to be someone cheating everybody else out of their question time. If that persists, we will rectify it, because this was incredibly sus. But in the meantime, I'll do a quick little reminder. The rules are once again on the screen. If you want to leave a question for next month's Q&A, please do so in the comment section below. Thank you very much to everyone. I am going to ice my throat and go to sleep. Thank you very much. I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.